Now let's spend some more time on the impact of COVID-19 on school-going children. Policy research and advocacy organization Africa Education Watch is warning that more teenage girls are likely to get pregnant if schools remain closed. Now, government has already announced that pupils at junior high school 1 and below are to resume school in January 2021 due to the pandemic. The advocacy organization believes this could spell doom for young girls. Kofi Asare is executive director of that advocacy group, Africa Education Watch, and he joins us via Zoom with more. I've also got two parents who share their personal experience with us and, if they've been able to innovate in dealing with this particular situation. Dr. Benedict Yate and Madam Agnes Kudolo. Thank you for joining the program. Let me start with you, Mr. Asare. On what basis are you giving government this warning? Hello, do we have Mr. Asare on? Okay, we don't have him here yet, but while I wait for Mr. Asare to join the program, let me come to you, Dr. Yate. So we have two stories here. One, young girls are getting pregnant. We're being warned of the numbers rising. On the other hand, school children are going to the beach. Unfortunately, we've recorded one fatality in the Western region. Share your personal experience with us, even as schools remain closed. How are you coping with your children?
Thank you very much. A very good morning to those viewers. I think the pandemic really hit us at a time that no one expected. We all tried in various ways to handle.
Children staying at home during the COVID situation. Whatever, no questions.
Signs that effect and an impact coronavirus may have adversely on them, and also the warning about teenage pregnancies that we're going to have. For me, as a parent, I'm a parent of 4 children. Since the outbreak, my children have been, virtually home. They've really enjoyed their summer term online. They participated in an online learning program from their school. And also, there are a few other things that I have personally encouraged them to do. For example, I always task them to make sure they read at least a chapter of a book, to practice a mathematical problem, and also to polish their talents. This is the time that I think when we as a family, we try to engage our children and encourage them to see what will really deepen their interest as far as their development is concerned. I think it will help. Seeing these children on the seashore, at the beach, I think one thing we need to look at as a nation is going back to the concept of community libraries, having volunteers who would now, put these children together, give them some academic assistance, as well as also engage them in the areas of their talents. I think that will help really manage the situation.
You, Madam Agnes Kudolo, you are a teacher as well and a parent. Tell us how you've been coping since the schools have remained closed. Hi, can you unmute your device? And kindly share with us your experience since schools have been closed.
We try to engage the children at home by giving them... Hello?
Hi, we can hear you, please. Please continue with your submission. We seem to have a challenge with Agnes Kudolo's line. So let me come back to you, Doc. Apart from the libraries, there are concerns that parents are working. Some of them may not afford a nanny, or in the absence of a library, may not afford, asking someone else to take care of their child. So what can they do, really?
Engage.
The time that we need to depend on like I mentioned, volunteers within and track our world's welfare around this time. It's quite dicey because parents would go chasing after livelihood. They need to get the family, supported. They need to work in various ways to get the family supported. So it is not that easy to just also say they're going to stay away from work and stay with the children. However, if we have adults, we have older cousins, older nephews, older nieces at home, this is the time to also work on them so that by so doing, we are also deepening their social life experience. That, some of us growing up, we grew up in community, in compound houses where you have your families, your parents will leave in the morning and they come back in the evening. But you have aunties and uncles and older cousins and other people to engage you to do the right things. So I think this is also possible. There's a time we have to go back. Let's not forget that we are not in ordinary times anymore. So you can't have things the way they would have been when we were in normal times. So if we have to now, engage and let's empower our community members, like our cousins, our nephews, because it's not everybody who will be going to work. Definitely there will be some people left behind at home. But depending on the relationship, the rapport we have with them, in the 21st century, we have all, thrown away the extended family, importance. Now everybody is living a lifestyle where it's just the nuclear family. But this is the time we have to go back and see how best we can tap into these things. There will definitely be older cousins, older nephews, older nieces. There will be grandmothers, there will be grandfathers at home who, in the way, can engage these children, get them to read a book, get them to solve a problem, or if they have to, engage the services of part-time teachers at home who come and supervise these children to do what it is. I mean, something that we must do. We can't just leave the system just the way it is. Something must definitely be done about it.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts, Doc. But we have Madam Agnes Kudolo on phone now. Unfortunately, the Zoom link wasn't too great. But thank you so much for staying on, ma'am. You were sharing with us what you're doing as a parent and a teacher during this period as schools remain closed.
Yeah, earlier on I said that I supervise my children on their online tuition with their teachers in school. They give them a lot of assignments for them to do, and I help them to do that. And then also there are other things that they are learning. At this time that the children are home, we must encourage them to learn and develop their skills. So my kids are involved in crochet, work. They do a lot of things with their hands. And then I also have some learning other things like catering. I have a friend whose daughter is now learning cake making and other things. So they also read. They read a lot. At this time, you must also encourage them to read. The little time that they have, you also help them to read. And then I'm also spending a valuable time with them. Before then, the kids used to wake up at dawn, go to school, come back late, and then we are also in school teaching and doing other stuff. But now that they are home, we have quality time together, and you help them, especially with the girls. You need to groom them, help them, take their mind off things that will not profit them. Especially, we are encouraging our girls to remain chaste. So you need to discuss with them the causes and effects of teenage pregnancy, how they should be mindful of the relationship that they have with their peers, especially the opposite sex. In mingling with them, you should let them know how they have to protect themselves from bad boys. Especially.
All right. So
you need to have quality time with them.
You've shared with us the very ideal situation. Your children are having online classes. But like the story we just shared from the Western region, there are many children in this country who do not have access to the internet, and they may not even have their parents available as you are. You're also a teacher, and I'm sure you have students just like that, whose parents may not have time for them due to the kind of work that they do, or may not have access to provide some of the things you're providing for your children. So how do they handle that situation? Or how do we as society handle the situation?
As a society, we must treat other people's children as our own. So, for instance, if you live in a neighborhood where there are kids at home, you can also allow them to join your children. Especially if you don't have an online, tuition opportunity to do that. You can even teach them manually, group them together, put a marker board, and then teach them. If you know how to at least read and write and do some simple mathematics and English language here and there. The youth in the church are also there to help the church members who are teenagers, who are children at home, by teaching them, some of the work that they do at home. And then if you are a youth in your community, you can, I know a gentleman who groups some of the children in one of the classrooms in the neighborhood and teach them. So I think the young people can also engage in that in order to help the children.
That's a fine idea you shared there. It's in tandem with what Dr. Yate shared earlier about volunteerism. I'll have you hold on. Let me speak to Mr. Asari. He is Executive Director for Africa Education Watch, and they say that teenage girls are likely to get pregnant, or we're going to have more teenage girls getting pregnant as schools remain closed. Thank you for joining the program, Mr. Asari. So what is the basis for this warning you're sounding? Hello, Mr. Asari. Unfortunately, we can hear you. I think you have to unmute your device. Yes.
Yeah. Good morning. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Yeah, the basis is that prior to the escalation of the pandemic initially, immediately the pandemic started, we started reviewing literature, especially from other countries that have suffered pandemics of this nature or similar nature. And we discovered that in Liberia and Sierra Leone, post-Ebola in 2014, schools were shut down for about 8 months. And when schools reopened, about 20% of students did not return, majority of whom were girls. And the reasons were early marriage, pregnancy, and then economic reasons. So we started engaging stakeholders on how to make sure our girls are ready to return to school when school reopens. We engaged, we encouraged CSOs to embark on outreach programs at the community level, and also use the media to generate content and broadcast content that will promote responsible sexual behaviors and lifestyles, and also moral behaviors. Unfortunately, the lockdown and its attendant closures of borders and restrictions didn't permit, a smooth rollout of such interventions. So when we conducted our research in the month of July, when schools reopened, we did it in 200 schools, 100 junior high schools and 100 senior high schools, basically Form 3 students in these two categories of schools, and discovered that 85% of girls, in 20% of schools recorded cases of between 1 to 3 girls not returning to school. And when we asked them why, they indicated that 85%, the reasons was due to pregnancy, and 25% due to marriage. We also were interested because we have a position on the re-entry of girls, consistent with the position of the civil society community, that when girls become pregnant, they should be allowed to re-enter school and complete their education after giving birth. And so we started interrogating the system about how the system facilitates the re-entry of girls in schools, especially in the Bongo area, in the Boga area, where we had lots of complaints of the highest number of girls, and also in the Infantiman area and then the Upper Menya. We realized that it was impossible to readmit students under the free senior high school system, because the free senior high school gives a student a unique number, which is valid for only 3 years. After the 3 years, it expires. And if you got pregnant in Form 2 or in Form 3 and you return a year after, your code would have expired and you cannot re-enter. If you got pregnant in Form 2 and you returned after Form 3 students have returned the examination, you cannot. And if you got pregnant in Form 2, you couldn't come to continue Form 2. You only come and catch up with your colleagues who will be writing exams in Form 3, second term or thereabout. And so, apart from that, the system also centralizes admissions at the computerized level in Form 1. And so, it is not possible for school authorities to readmit in between.
Interesting revelations you have there. So, Ms. Asare, quickly and briefly, you've encountered teenage pregnancies. Were there any child marriage situations?
Yes, we indicated that 25%, obviously, once they were students in junior and senior high schools, they are bound to be children, and 25% of those, especially in the Bolga and the Bongo area. These are areas quite noted for child marriage and then teenage pregnancy. The Bolga, Bongo area, the coastal belts, especially in Fantiman, and then also in the Manya areas. And so we're not surprised that the feedback from the schools we sampled in this area resonated with what has been established as flashpoint for early marriages and then teenage pregnancy.
We would have to leave it here this morning, but thank you for your time once again. Kofi Asare is Executive Director of Africa Education Watch, and we've been talking about some findings they have on the impact of COVID-19 on pupils, especially girls, as schools remain closed. Earlier we heard from parents who are suggesting volunteerism to help deal with the impact of the closure of schools on school-going children.